Welcome to Wrestleview Post Raw number 80 with Mike and Victoria Tedesco. Oh, it's such good shit.
Oh my goodness. Wow. I don't know.
Welcome to Post Raw.
You never know what's going to happen on Post Raw. Apparently, we are finally endorsed by the big man. The boss has interrupted a stream just to let us know that he's endorsing us. How about that? It is such good shit.
We said that our 80th show would be big.
It is definitely a big show. I don't know why 80 is like bigger than 75 or like, you know, like any of those like really big round numbers.
Just because we feel like it.
Also, my Vince McMahon puppet finally came in the mail. Welcome to Post Raw number 80. I am Mike Tedesco, the editor-in-chief of Wrestleview.com.
And I'm Victoria Tedesco.
Good to see you all. Wow, we got a lively chat room tonight. Oh my God, WTF from Quentin Walters. DP Trip in the chat room tonight. Hey guys, good to see you again. I don't think that was really Vincent K. McMahon. I don't know either.
Couldn't fool you.
We tried. We really tried. But welcome to the show, everybody. Let's say hello to everybody in the chat room before we really dive into the show tonight. Doug Lackey reminding me, yes, math is my friend. Yes, 80 is bigger than 75 last I checked. But it's like, you know, like 25, 50, 75. It's like, you know, nobody really flips out over 80.
That's not true. I mean, people like with their 80th birthdays definitely do. No, it's true. That's a big milestone. Usually you see like 80th birthdays being celebrated.
That's true. I don't know if I'll live to 80. I hope I do. That'd be great.
You're not though. Like
you
seriously.
never know.
Okay, that's like not okay. Don't even say stuff like that.
80 episodes already, though. I mean, that's pretty damn good.
I know.
Yeah, you know, it's a lot of dedication here. A lot of nights talking about shows that aren't that great. That's a lot. I would love to like tally up how much time we've spent actually on the air.
I would not. I really don't want to know, actually.
Well, actually, technically, this is like show number 81, but you know. It's really like 80.A, right? I guess. I don't know.
We're doing
80,
little sub
80 and a half.
You know.
Forever. Doug Lackey is just for Doug doesn't even keep track of like how many shows he's done. It's just Wrestleview Weekly, whatever he's talking about.
Yeah.
We don't it's unknown. It's unknown.
He's actually kind of like Vince McMahon in the sense of he really doesn't like to have
numbers.
Yeah.
He doesn't like to have numbers.
No.
The bigger the number, the older the show seems.
Exactly.
It's like nobody wants to watch, you know, definitely nobody wanted to watch like, you know, Super Bowl 52 or anything like that, you know. No one cared because it had 52. I find that to be
so strange still that he does not like to put any type of number. It's like you should actually be proud of the fact that there's that many shows and that you've built this amazing
I know.
career.
Yeah, right? You would
and company.
You would think. No, it's old shit. Nobody wants it.
But then again, wait, hold on. Keep Mr. McMahon up. Mr. McMahon, achoo. Achoo.
Sneezing.
Achoo.
You son of a bitch.
Are you going to fire me?
No. We already fired enough people. My goodness. Vince, please leave us alone. We're trying to do a show here, damn it. God, what a freak. Anyway, we were going to say hi to people in the in the chat room tonight.
Well, then Mr. McMahon got involved.
This bastard. Anyway, Doug Lackey, veteran columnist of Wrestleview.com and the host of Wrestleview Weekly, is in the chat room tonight. We are very excited about that. Doug is with us. In fact, I just checked my texts before. I would love if Doug could call in. Actually, that would be.
Can we do that?
It might be very possible.
Well, no, it has to be possible.
Yeah. But I'm just like worried about ruining my internet now that I had everything all set up nicely. We got Quentin Walters in the chat room. I'm going to text Doug in a few moments once I get everything all set up. Mashoon Walls in the chat room. Hello Mashoon.
Hello.
We got Andrew Elder, your buddy. Andrew
buddy.
Elder's in the chat room tonight. Obviously, Nafis Sadat, our dear friend.
Nafis.
Our dear friend Nafis. Luce Veraldi. Sweet Lou is in the chat room tonight. Uncle Billy Hefner in the chat room.
Hello.
Mr. V. Mr. V.
Mr. V.
The owner of like the longest streak in Duolingo history is in the chat room tonight. A legend. Bobby Strauss in their chat room. Like, excellent.
Hello.
Chris Elgie in the chat room. Excellent.
Hello.
First timer in the chat.
Nice.
We have not seen Chris on here before. This is excellent. Oh my goodness. Jerome Weiland. Hello. Hi,
Jerome.
Mr. and Mrs. Tedesco from Gabby. Actually, it's Gabby Weiland.
Gabby.
Oh, she's so sweet.
I missed Wrestleview news this weekend.
I know, me too. Damn.
Drama.
I hate our family. It's crazy. Can we get a Victoria's ranting on Alcatraz podcast going?
I know.
From Quentin.
No, I know. I've promised everybody. It's just been a wild few weeks.
Goosey's in the
honestly.
chat room.
Goosey.
We love Goosey. Scotty Poindexter in the chat room tonight.
Scotty.
Excellent. Oh, I just reminded Mr. V that he has to get his Duolingo streak. I think he had there's 32 minutes left. That was it for him. Anyway, yeah. Is Doug sipping from the sources? That's what Michun wants to know tonight. Is he sipping from the sources in the chat room? That's a great question. That is a great question. Anyway, let's 80 shows. We talk about Raw all the time.
Right. So what do you want to do?
So I guess that we should talk about the Raw.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else. Like, let's talk about that.
Well, there are other things to talk about, which really the show was the go home to Money in the Bank.
Okay. Yes.
Money in the Bank.
On Mother's Day.
On Mother's Day. Victoria's first Mother's Day, by the way. That's exciting. Doug says he's drinking chamomile tea tonight.
Ooh.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. Chamomile tea with, what's the APV on that, my friend?
Leave Doug alone.
That's what I want to know. I have to say, like, these empty arena shows are largely boring most of the time. They're a chore to get through unless you have like the right combination of people in the ring. Like I'm thinking of the Street Profits tonight because they have enough for an entire crowd with just all the stuff that they do. Just
personality
shouting
plus,
and
yeah,
personality,
exactly,
everything.
yeah.
Bianca Belair is another one of them. It's mostly boring if you have people in the ring that don't really talk or make a lot of noise. Like, there was a lot of that tonight. But as boring as the TV shows have been, WWE, and yes, granted, we only have a small sample size so far with WrestleMania 36, but with the Boneyard match and the Firefly Funhouse, is this the first time, like, in years and years that WWE's been truly creative, or do you think that what do you think of like what all the things that they're doing to try to get people interested?
That's
so
a
we
good
have
question.
a Money in the Bank match coming up this Sunday where the men's and women's match will be happening simultaneously in the WWE headquarters. The freaking briefcases are on the roof. They have to fight from the ground floor up. That's about as outside the box as it gets. I mean, like, everybody's saying WWE creative is dead, but
no. I okay. So I'm going to say that I agree with you to an extent. So, and the reason why I say that is because initially when all this started kind of going down, I said this is actually a really good opportunity for them to get creative, and really get outside of the box. And they are fulfilling that, honestly. I think with the right amount of time, like, this is forcing them to definitely do things a lot differently. And I just kind of hope that with everything going on the way it is, that we do get more stuff like this. And even when everything is back to normal, that they continue on this momentum of that, and hopefully too, as the more time progresses also, even when maybe in these live shows, we're going to get more of something. Because obviously with the time that they have to prepare for Money in the Bank, and they had little time to prepare for WrestleMania, in my opinion. They were kind of really having to scramble to think of things, but they did it. And I think when they allow themselves to really get that time, instead of always in this industry, you have to think of the small picture and the big picture. So it's a weird balance of having to keep things fresh and having to also think about long-term storyline and long-term goals. So I find, yes, I agree with you that they have definitely gone way out of their comfort zone, and you hope that in the end that they don't become complacent with that. You know what I mean? I think with their live shows they have, like, during the week, they have a tendency to become predictable and, you know, whatever. But if there's something that they have to plan for a little while to really get themselves going, they can do it. So it just proves that they have the opportunity to really get them and to do whatever. And I think with less is more, so to speak, because I guarantee you, I mean, they obviously didn't release this, but with, you know how obviously there was a lot of people who were released from the company, including producers, including, you know, people who were just furloughed with, you know, doing all like setting up the stage and everything like that.
Right.
Normally writers too are like let go just to begin with. Like that's always like a rotation. However,
they definitely did let a few writers go.
I think that's what happened, but I think they're really sticking to the people who know what they're doing. Like people like Paul Heyman. You know, whoever the original
Michael Hayes.
Yeah, whoever's originally been involved and knows wrestling really well, and maybe those additional writers that they had who have shown a good amount of potential. I think that they've been keeping those people because you're not going to hire. They can't rotate writers like that, like they have been, because they're not going to do that. You're not going to interview people like that and have them fly out and whatever. You're just not going to do it. You're going to stick to what you have right now to keep things within good measure. So yeah, I really think that they should but I think they should stick to that though. And then obviously again, when things get back to normal, don't stop thinking outside the box because you have this crowd now. But let's try to now do that into your live shows each week. But again, I know it's hard because you don't have a crowd. But,
right.
But you know.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, it seems like as they whittled back their staff almost, that in some ways they've gotten more creative. They're taking more risks. This is definitely like way riskier than anything I can remember them doing in the last 5 years.
Yeah,
I haven't
definitely within recent years.
Like the company's definitely taking risks.
Yeah.
Okay. Like the WWE Network moving off of pay-per-view completely at the end of 2013, and they opened it up in 2014. But they made that announcement. It was like, what? They're spitting in the face of all the pay-per-view providers. Like, what if this doesn't work? I mean, that's a huge business risk.
Yeah, right.
But in terms of like an actual risk on the show, I guess some people will say like, oh yeah, well the Daniel Bryan thing, that might have been a risk, right? To go with him in the main event. But really, is it a risk at the end of the day?
No, because he had the crowd behind him.
He had the crowd behind him. People obviously wanted it.
And he's a great wrestler.
He's a great wrestler, but they had so much star power at the time. They still had John Cena floating around. There's a lot of things they could have done to cover up any deficiencies if Daniel Bryan had any. Unfortunately, he had the neck injury we never really saw. I wouldn't really call that like a huge risk putting him in the main event. You know, WrestleMania kind of sells itself. I haven't seen, like, in terms of like the actual product, taking these many risks and thinking this outside the box. I can't think of a single match since like the Elimination Chamber when they created it in 2002 that's like this unique,
innovative,
this
almost
interesting.
Yeah.
You know, even like Money in the Bank, it's just like a ladder. It's a ladder match. Like, it's a great concept, but again, not like entirely risky. You know, it's like, you know, like this is like really, really creative to put them all in one damn building. Good Lord. Like,
well, yeah, and I think
there's even talk of throwing people off the building now.
And well, here's the thing: resources. They're utilizing the resources that they have because they don't have a crowd to back them up. So they have to be able to do something. Because let's put it this way: there's a lot of backstage segments over the years, or things that like wrestling that happens backstage that it's very, very interesting, and you're not hearing a crowd. You can't hear a crowd because they're not there right in front of you. Yeah, you hear like, you know, maybe little bit of background noise, but you're not getting the full, you know, dense the crowd, but it's still intense and it's still interesting.
Yeah.
So they need to do stuff like this just in general. It's not even just because, it's a pandemic. Like, they should be doing stuff like this constantly.
I almost hope it continues on. Like, you know, well, I mean, let's see how successful it is on Sunday before I really commit to that. I mean, they had, in my opinion, they had, you know, obviously the Boneyard match was just next worldly good. Firefly Funhouse was a little off,
but still interesting. Made
and
you talk.
risky.
Yeah,
and it definitely started a conversation. So like, let's see if they can continue that momentum. But they have a lot of people that are right now, looking, interested in taking risks. Like we gotta do what we can to get people interested in watching. And you can't do it every week on TV, but. Like for special events, like it's a great thing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have to like suffer through all that television in the meantime of just like the regular stuff.
But this question I propose to you though, with that, they're putting all this effort in, right?
Yeah.
To something like Money in the Bank.
Uh-huh.
Numbers have been down. Let's face it.
Oh yeah.
Viewership's been down. Do you think this will draw people back in for the pay-per-views? Like, do you think even though people aren't watching weekly? Are people watching the pay-per-views? I don't know. I obviously, like, WrestleMania is WrestleMania. A lot of people tuned in to watch that on the network. They had the biggest WrestleMania weekend that they ever had in terms of signups. Now that's free signups, not included with that. So it's not paid, but they did all right for themselves. They had a lot of people talking about it on social media and stuff like that. We'll see what a B pay-per-view like. Well, really, Money in the Bank's kind of pseudo. I would say it's a
pseudo A pay-per-view.
Yeah, like A minus.
Yeah, it's not like SummerSlam or Royal Rumble, but it's
something
still,
people look forward to.
I definitely do. I guess the answer to the question would just be like, are you? How does everybody feel? Are you excited about Money in the Bank? Even though I thought tonight's Raw was super boring, I really did. It was just, at one point during the Liv Morgan match, I am not gonna lie. You're gonna see that the quality of the recap kind of dropped off. I nodded off for the entire segment of Liv Morgan and Charlotte Flair talking. I really did. I swear to God, I was like, I can't take it anymore. I just shut my eyes for a second. All of a sudden, they're wrestling. I'm like, what happened? So I had to rewind and just did the Cliff Notes version of that. But
yeah,
but at the end of my recap just now, I put Raw was boring. Essentially, I'm paraphrasing myself.
Right.
Raw was boring.
Right.
Still looking forward to Money in the Bank.
Okay. So you're the type of person. You'll watch it. Well, obviously you're watching it anyway.
It's a curiosity factor.
A curiosity factor. I just hope. And again, I am happy that they're doing this outside of the box and they're putting all this effort in and they're being really super creative. I hope it's worth it though. In the sense of, people risking what they need to do during this time, putting these lavish matches on and everything else. And if nobody's going to watch, you know what I mean? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So I wonder what like the pay-per-view, I'm trying to like figure out like what's coming up next for WWE after Money in the Bank.
What's the pay-per-view normally?
Well, last year it was like Stomping Grounds or something like that. And then it was, I think it was like Stomping Grounds. Well, actually, I think they had a Saudi show in the middle of that.
Because I can't remember now.
They did a Saudi show and then they did Stomping Grounds.
It was WrestleMania.
But there's not gonna be a Saudi Arabian show.
No.
They even said on the conference call with the shareholders that there's probably not going to be a Saudi Arabia show this year, and they'll just tack it on the back end, because of the virus. Doug just mentioned in the chat room that the next thing is Extreme Rules in San Jose, California on July 19th. That most likely, almost 100%, is not happening. California is not allowing any public gatherings, they said, until there's either a certain number or they're looking for or there's some kind of vaccine, which that might not be for another year.
Yeah.
So that raises to me serious questions about WrestleMania 37 right now. I like everybody's like, oh yeah, the summer's coming up and this thing's gonna go away. I'm telling you right now, I've sat in on staff meetings for my school. There are dead serious talks that we are not going to be starting up on, or at least in the building. It might be more distance learning come September. This thing's not over by a long shot. So I'd be very stunned if there was any kind of WWE crowd in in attendance at any of these shows for almost the rest of the year.
I don't think SummerSlam's happening. I really truly don't.
I think SummerSlam's happening at the
Performance
Center.
I don't think they're right. Again, that's what I meant. You know what I mean? I don't think it's happening for a live crowd. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to be like a downer here, but that's just how it is. So they have to keep thinking outside the box. That means. Triple H has a great mind. Like Triple H was the one who organized and put together. Him and Michael Hayes put together the Boneyard match.
Oh, Paul.
Yeah, Paul, your buddy,
my buddy Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, Paul.
It's like that's your bro.
I've been saying that for the longest time, though. I really do genuinely believe that Triple H should have a lot more control with certain things, because again, NXT is phenomenal when he's running everything.
Right?
And you just telling me that about him and Michael Hayes with that Boneyard match, a lot of their input was in it. That does not surprise me in the slightest bit at all.
Right. Because
he is very, very creative. And you know what's nice about Triple H too? He's a very good listener. He really genuinely, you see him when he's interacting with the performers, he listens to them. He takes a lot of their input too.
Right.
Character-wise and what they're doing in the ring, I find. And just people even who talk about Triple H, they're like, he's just very, very open to certain ideas, which is great.
Yeah.
To feel like you could be comfortable, he's still an authority figure, you still respect him as your authority figure in the company, but that you can have a conversation with him too is key.
Yeah.
Because you don't get that with Vince McMahon sometimes.
Well, you used to. Vince used to be like, there's so many crazy stories about Vince McMahon, being one of the boys, there's a great story of Vince at a hotel bar in the early 90s, 91, 92.
Okay.
Just absolutely hammered and was talking shit to the Legion of Doom. And something happened, and he demanded that Jim Neidhart and Bret Hart hit the heart attack finish on him in the bar, and it happened. I think I remember reading about it in Bret's book, and Bret said that he goes, I had to take his fucking head off, had to make it look good. So he used to be that way.
Yeah, he used to be,
and
but
then he started playing it safe, and granted, there has to be a definite distance kept with your employees, technically not employees or independent contractors, but still you can't just be doing whatever.
No, I'm not saying that.
But Triple H has the right thing. He allows them to be creative, but at the end of the day, they're going to do what he asks them to do.
Of course.
But he's going to definitely take in their input.
You definitely respect him, and he's definitely laid down the law in a lot of situations, and even in conference calls when you're on with him.
He's easy to talk to.
He's very easy to talk to, but he also will give it to you straight.
Yes.
There's no question about it. He was very informative with me when I was talking to him, and very great in his response. But there's certain people you're not going to mess with him. They were asking very, I'm going to say silly questions. I don't want to say stupid questions, but very silly questions. And he was like, that makes no sense. And why would I, I'm not even identify that with a response.
I got to tell you, there are some wrestling journalists that get on those, and I was using air quotes in case you didn't know, journalists that get on those conference calls and just ask the most asinine questions. I remember there was at one of his last conference calls that he did before, I think it was before TakeOver Portland, somebody asked him about some random guy on the NXT UK roster. And it was so pointed, there was no reason to ask the question. There was no news, broken in it. There was nothing interesting about it. And even Triple H was just he's debuting. Well, what? Why? That's you right, sat on this conference call. Yeah. You waited all this time, and that's the best. That's the best question you had for me.
Question. Yeah, exactly.
Good Lord.
I know.
Some of these people just make asses out of themselves. Ugh, brutal. Andrew is really wanting to hear Brian Alvarez rant eventually.
No, you will.
You know what's funny? Actually, is just every time I go on Twitter, for especially if it's on a Thursday.
Oh no.
He usually just puts AEW and NXT viewership.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, obviously both numbers for AEW and NXT are super low. And it's like, when it's super low for AEW, they got beat because of the virus coverage. They're a great show, but no one's watching it because of the virus. But Raw, which does nearly 2 million views, like they average right now, since they moved the Performance Center, they're averaging about 1.9 million viewers. Okay, he whatever that number is, well, it's because the show sucks. Always.
Why are you telling me this? Oh, I know.
I'm just trying to get you fired up. That's why.
It's been a weird 2 weeks for me and a long 2 weeks for me, but I think when we go to Philly, that's maybe when I'll do it. Maybe I'll just get fired up, and that's when we'll.
It's just, yeah, we need to get Victoria fired up and turn on the podcasting thing. So it's gonna be fun.
No, you should just can you do this for me? Then I can do it easily.
Okay.
Leave it set up for me. That way, when I just feel like doing, I could just hit the button and that's it.
Hit the button, turn it on, and just go crazy.
Go. Yeah,
you're just gonna go crazy. You're gonna go nuts.
Yeah, I'm gonna go nuts.
You're gonna lose your mind.
I'm gonna lose my mind.
I can't wait. It's gonna be. I'm just excited to see you lose your mind on something not me. That will be great. All right, I think we have talked enough about WWE's creativity and whatever else we just talked about. Looking at the Raw poll right now, it is 50-50.
Really?
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Really?
No one really knows how they feel about it. It is literally thumbs in the middle right now.
Well, I honestly, I'm not surprised. I think that this is a very, it's like, you can very much enjoy a show, but then at the end of the day, you think to yourself, like, ugh.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly,
I know. So again, all right. So let's talk about Raw.
Wait a minute. Can I talk about it first? Can I talk about the opening?
Oh yes, go ahead. You want to explain what happened? And everything?
Well, I just want to I was sitting here, you were sitting there.
I was, yes.
Same exact spots. I had the baby in my arms. We just finished our dinner. And all of a sudden, you see MVP walk out. And I'm thinking to myself, was this last week? What was last week's date? Can somebody tell me what last week's date was?
April 27th.
Okay. So last week, I'm like, are we in the Twilight Zone here? This is the same thing that happened last week.
Victoria actually asked if they accidentally played the show from last week.
Because I'm sorry. Not only are you not opening up with a match, okay? You're opening up with the same person. And I know that happens on regular live shows, right? But this is so beyond noticeable now. So beyond noticeable. It's like, is there going to be a start of a streak where MVP is just going to be having a VIP lounge every day, every week on Monday Night Raw, just going to be MVP opening up the show?
It's such bad shit. God.
Go away, McMahon.
God, this guy is everywhere. It's unbelievable though. Like how do you not watch this show and here you go. How do you not watch this show and just be like, you know what? There's no one here. And when we do these stupid in-ring, interviews to kick off the show, it just starts at every single time. It just starts it off on a bad note because it's like, God, it's quiet. You're listening to a promo. There's no noise whatsoever. You can tell just how bad the writing is for these promos sometimes. It's just miserable.
That's what I'm saying though. Why on earth does there have to be it's the same person opening it up?
For as creative as they're being for the pay-per-views, and yes, you can't do cinematic matches every week on every single show. That's obviously silly, but you can change the format of your TV
That's
shows.
What I'm saying. It doesn't have to
it doesn't have to follow the same exact format as the arena shows have.
Exactly.
Just try something new. Try starting off with a match just to get things just rolling. You can always do the VIP lounge at 9 o'clock, but God,
I have no issue with it.
Just get people hooked into watching.
I like
interested.
MVP.
I like MVP too.
I don't like him, but I only see him 2 weeks in a row. And if I gotta be honest with you, I might have a whole other podcast if he comes on next week. It's opening up the show.
Anyway,
right?
And it wasn't even. It was a terrible freaking segment. It was. I mean, like, and I've loved everything Asuka's done since, especially since the quarantine. Asuka really has just been such a treasure, an absolute treasure.
100%.
Nafisa says the last time they changed the format, it was the 2 out of 3 falls boredom, wasn't it? Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
it's
not wrong.
And that was brutal too. And then they slinked back to their old, just matches during the commercial break. Why not? Like, that makes no sense. Anyway, even Doug says, I just want to see two people beating the hell out of each other backstage, and it leads into the ring. Absolutely.
There you go, Doug.
Just something.
There you go, Doug.
Yeah, just anything. It doesn't
awesome
have
idea.
to. It doesn't have to be a match. But just something physical to remind you that you're watching a wrestling show. It's just like, some of these things are just so damn formulaic that, it's stunning that they did the cinematic matches because they're so outside the box and out of the norm of what you've seen for the last decade on the show, where it's just, like they've kind of like lost those, like that creative edge, in terms of just making, the weekly television interesting,
Yeah, I agree with you.
Like a lot of people, I remember a lot of people complained about the Dean Ambrose bringing the hot dog cart to the ring and spraying people with ketchup and mustard and shit like that. And yeah, it was goofy as hell, but at least it was a little something different than just like, okay, he goes in the ring, hits him with his finish, and then they, they stare at each other to end the show. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I'll take anything, slightly creative, or slightly outside the box. Just anything other than just the damn promo to start the show. And this one was particularly bad. And it's almost like, if I was it's honest to God, it's hard for me. I'm getting paid to do this, to like watch the show. I can't imagine, like, if you're just like, let's see what Raw's doing this week. Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler stumbling through a promo, another VIP lounge. I think I'll catch the highlights on YouTube. Click.
Well, so what's interesting that you said before, you found the segment to be terrible, right?
Yeah.
I didn't find it to be terrible. I think
you didn't.
No, I found it to be terrible because it opened up the show. I think that's honestly, I think that what leads to bad people, like a taste in bad in their mouth. You know what I mean? I can't speak today, by the way, but I think that's really why, like, people probably did not like it at all for the most part, because it opened up the show. Try to imagine if it didn't open up the show. Would you feel as strongly saying it was terrible? Like, if you isolated it, if
I isolated it, no, it would still be a bad segment.
Okay.
It still would be a bad segment, but it wouldn't be kicking off the damn show.
See, I didn't find it to be terrible in that aspect. The reason why, like, because I think, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I think that Asuka, to me, like, she, like, her doing her whole shtick where, she's not speaking English and she's just flipping out on everybody. Awesome. I think that's always gold. Honestly, I don't think Nia Jax, I don't, like, when you said, they stumbled before, I didn't find that. I think actually,
bad.
See, I really didn't think Nia Jax didn't do a bad job.
I didn't say Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she did. But I thought Nia Jax did a very good job, to be honest with you. I think she delivered, and she looks like a mean girl, like a bad girl heel, and I think that's working for her, honestly, and I think that she should always stick with that for the rest of her career.
Okay.
Shayna Baszler, I felt fumbled a little bit, but I'm not saying to a horrible extent. I don't think it was cringeworthy stumbling.
Well,
I think she fumbled, but not like.
Well, it was like the crazy thing to me about this is that they taped this show was obviously taped last week.
Right.
Well, like, how do you not just like Shayna Baszler obviously clearly forgot her line and was just standing there like,
yeah. No, and I get it.
And I was like, say something. God damn it. Like, what the hell's going on here? And she finally did, and it was just so bad. It was so bad. And then they knocked Nia over. It looked so unconvincing. They had like a cardboard table in the ring. It was so campy, so crappy. And again, it would if it was just in the middle of the show, if it was at the 9 o'clock hour, okay, it's just a bad segment buried in the middle of the show, whatever.
Yeah.
But this is
Almost
like
forgotten about.
it's setting the tone for the show tonight.
Yeah, and I think that's why though.
But like you had this gauntlet match that could have gone an hour, right? Granted, they didn't have the best people in the world working on it.
I think that should have started the show though.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like, just stretch a few things out a little bit, add an extra guy in there and you're good to go.
Yeah.
You have an hour built in of just pure action. And, if you can't keep them with the wrestling, then whatever. It's, the promos aren't working. Try that. Just try doing the freaking match for an hour and see what happens.
That's interesting that you say that too, because you know how you say it's been formulaic in general?
Yeah.
I agree with you. Like, if your viewership is low anyway, why not take a chance?
Yeah, just start throwing things against the wall and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what these cinematic matches are. It's just throwing a bunch of stuff against the wall and seeing what the hell works.
Give people the opportunity. People that you do have now that you're like, maybe they, normally, like, if we were in this situation, we probably wouldn't utilize them. Get somebody out there that you maybe like, and give them a chance. Like, because if they fall flat on their ass, who cares? Like, you know what I mean? It's you're not getting that many people where it's going to make that much of an impact in that aspect. The only thing that can happen is you maybe can benefit from the fact of like, wow, that was actually surprisingly really good. I'm going to see what they do next week because it's different.
Right. Yeah. Definitely something to that.
What did you think of the Gauntlet match, just in general?
It was boring. It didn't really do much for me. It's like we haven't seen Humberto Carrillo, really in a while, or at least it seems like today was the day that they were going to try to give him a push without really giving him a push. It's like, yeah, he beat Bobby Lashley. He beat him by slipping on a banana peel. It's like Bobby Lashley got himself disqualified, which is like. They did those finishes in Saudi Arabia when they did the Tuwaiq Trophy Gauntlet match.
Okay.
It's like, good Lord, like just so uncreative. It's like it's like it's fine. Like let him get so frustrated that he costs himself the match. But at the time that like where it came in the match and how they did it was like it just story wise it just made no sense. Like why Bobby Lashley just ran through three guys.
Yeah.
Titus O'Neil,
yeah.
Akira, there was no reason for Akira Tozawa to be in this at all. I don't understand why you have these people in a cruiserweight tournament on NXT and on Raw. Like, so you're supposed to take them seriously on NXT, and on Raw they're jobber fodder.
I never
I don't get that.
I never understood
that one. I don't get. You could do. There's a lot of other people you could use. Denzel Deschornet, whatever. He's in the Last Chance Battle Royal or Gauntlet match, whatever. I like that. And he also ran through Shelton Benjamin. Like, so Humberto Carrillo, who really hasn't done anything since the end of February, early March, all of a sudden is a challenge for Bobby Lashley, and he barely even took him off his feet, and then Bobby Lashley just gets frustrated and gets disqualified. It made no sense for that to happen. So it's just like, yeah, they just need to get him out of the match, and that's just how they did it. No thought put into that at all.
Yeah, that was very strange. And like you said,
like if he caught him with a bunch of roll-ups or made him look silly or something like that, but none of that even happened. And so it just made no sense.
And they do have the flexibility now to, like you said before, tape things. So if if a match isn't going, let's just, like, if I were looking back at this, right?
And there's a few instances of what you're about to say.
If I was looking back on this and be like, you know what, this actually doesn't make sense storyline wise that Carrillo was able to just defeat Lashley in that aspect, like kind of almost accidental, right? But they could have stopped and been like, let's go another direction. Let's see if up until this point, let's do something else and see which one kind of makes the most sense out of it. They have that flexibility, so I don't know why they're not utilizing that.
Don't know. Couldn't tell you. Yeah, just no clue.
Do you think
clue.
I may be saying this, giving a lot of credit to our friend over here, and we'll have to ask him in a second, but do you think they're trying to get through these tapings so people can just go home?
Oh, I don't think they give a crap about their talent going home.
And you're right.
Oh my God.
I purposely did that.
Oh, wow! I walked right into
You're fired.
that. Damn. Wow. Okay. But I answered the question right. I don't know. I know I answered the question right. What were we talking about? Oh yeah. Anyway, so Humberto Carrillo just made like the whole thing was just like you knew it was building up for him to eventually lose, and again they did a lot of this stuff on the show tonight too. What the hell? You're supposed to throw it off camera, not directly in my face. Good Lord. So unprofessional. You know, it's like they did this thing where it's like, okay, well, you know, they had a really good go of it. Like they did that in the Charlotte Flair Liv Morgan match tonight, where Liv Morgan took it to Charlotte Flair and lost, and that means that she's in line for big things. Well, it's all in the follow-up, and I can guarantee you they are not doing shit with Humberto Carrillo. There's going to be no follow-up to that. They're going to do shit with Liv Morgan. They're probably going to put her in a friggin' another series of shit matches with Ruby Riott. It's like, it doesn't mean anything.
Probably another lesbian storyline with Lana at some point.
Well, that got dropped. So, like,
no, it's going to come back up again just because.
Jesus. Like, there's no follow-up with anything, you know. Anyway, they bring back AJ Styles and talk about no follow-up. Guy was buried alive. Says, yeah, I got buried. Doesn't matter. It's like, I guess you're right. Nothing matters at all on these shows.
Even
it doesn't matter.
Was like, he was like, he came back buried alive.
It's like, yeah.
It's like,
he
yeah,
did.
He did.
And he's totally fine.
Right. And
it's like, God, like, at least send him back with a haircut or something like that. I don't know anything. Like, good Lord.
There's no barbershops open. You can't do that.
You can. I bought clippers. And I
True.
Did my thing. You know, it's. Oh my God! It just went forever, and it's just like they had the wrong combination of people. You know, like I'm still thinking of that Gauntlet match that happened in 2018 before Elimination Chamber. I'll just never forget it because it was just like they announced a random Gauntlet match like 2 hours before that Raw went on the air, and it was like Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns or something like that.
Right.
And they went 20 minutes, and then it was Seth Rollins versus John Cena. And they went 20 minutes, and it just kept going on and on. I think eventually Braun Strowman won the Gauntlet match, but it was just like they were actually having matches, and they were having some good matches too.
Yeah.
You know, matches worth seeing, not just like these like, okay, well,
and
here's Titus O'Neil versus Bobby Lashley. Okay, let's just get through that in 3 seconds, and it's just like it just kind of makes the wrestling seem, you know, like I get it. It's predetermined. It's not real. It's choreographed dancing, pretty much. Sorry to break it to you, but like it just beats you over the head with the fact that this is fake. This is not real.
Well,
it's like when they were doing that 2 out of 3 falls thing that Nafis brought up before, and it was like somebody got pinned off of like a double team hip toss. It's like no one since 1973 has been pinned by that fucking move, and now like that just ended something so we can get the commercial break. Are you kidding me?
I found, you know what a good way to describe this match was? Random.
Yeah,
it was random because there's like this, the combination of people. It was just why am I supposed to care about? Like, am I really? Let's put it this way. And I like Titus O'Neil because I think he's just a really good person. But am I expecting him to beat Bobby Lashley, who's been on television weekly? Right. No, I'm not. I'm not expecting him to beat him.
Yeah,
and all these random other people. No.
And a last chance Gauntlet match too. Just you know, now I'm just getting nitpicky because
that's what we do.
Why did these guys get a last chance? They didn't even have a first chance.
Exactly.
Why couldn't it just be the people? Why couldn't it just be the people that got beat by the guys that got into the thing? Logic. I guess that's the only way that they could figure they could get AJ Styles in there.
No, you know what? Actually, I know exactly what's going on right now.
Oh, you do?
I had an epiphany.
Thank God I had an epiphany. Thank God.
They are trying to bring normalcy. So they are not...
Oh, so they're trying to beat you over the head with bullshit?
They're not logic. We have to not be logical in wrestling, right?
Correct.
So that is exactly why. They're going to keep things as random as possible, not put any thought into things like that. And we're supposed to not, you know... because it would be the logical thing to do. They're trying to bring it normal. during this COVID-19 business going on.
Got it. Yeah, so
I solved all our problems, everybody.
You just did. You just did. I just love that promo that AJ cut after the match, where it's just like, yeah, it doesn't mean anything. I lost. Who cares?
It
doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. I lost, but I'm gonna win Money in the Bank because why not?
I got buried alive.
I'm so like, and how lucky for me that Apollo Crews just happened to get injured, and then I could swoop in because I didn't compete in any Money in the Bank qualifying match before this. It's almost like I knew it was gonna happen. And what they were pushing Apollo Crews like hard for a couple weeks. No follow up to that.
I told you.
Andrade wasn't even on the show tonight.
I think that AJ Styles should have come back with dirt all over him. Like he still was like remnants of that match. Like he's still...
and he should have cut like a promo after. I'm still picking dirt out of places I didn't even know I had places. You know, it's like God.
Okay, well I wasn't gonna take it that far, but.
Oh my goodness.
Ew.
And if the Gauntlet match didn't do it for you to make you just want to just say like, all right, might check out of the show. They had another world-class boring promo with Seth Rollins. And it's like, I did commend Rollins for a time for taking crappy stuff and kind of like making it watchable when he was a babyface. He had the crowd on his side for a little bit, and then it didn't, then they turned on him. Well, partly his fault.
Yeah, stay off Twitter.
But watching him cut a promo right now on television, it's a televised execution. It's just death, and the only thing being executed is the ratings. I mean, there is nothing entertaining about a Seth Rollins promo whatsoever. There's nothing that makes me want to watch it. It's got that X-Pac feel to it, that X-Pac time to go away heat kind of stuff.
See, I find it so interesting of how critical you are being of him. I thought you were gonna mention something else before. That's why I was like doing my whole like hitting shtick. And, I wasn't. I didn't know if you were talking about. I didn't know you were going to talk about Seth Rollins. I don't. Again, I'm not going to say the best promo in the world. I'm not going to say it's the best segment in the world.
Boring. I mean, it's bad enough that there's nobody there.
I get
then
it.
Then talk quietly like this and da 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 da.
See, I don't have. I'm not nearly as critical. I didn't find it to be amazing. I kind of was like indifferent about it. It was decent.
It doesn't make you feel anything. It just makes you feel bored.
But I wouldn't say I was like. Again, I wouldn't say I was completely bored out of my mind. I'm not going to say that. I find, and again, you're allowed to have your opinion, obviously.
I am.
But I don't.
Not according to some people online. You're not allowed.
No, yeah, especially with you, apparently. Some people are very like, Mike Tedesco sucks. I don't find him to be nearly as boring though as you do. I really don't. There were certain things that he was saying tonight.
Next time there's a Rollins promo, you're recapping.
Okay.
It. Okay?
Okay.
All right. And we'll see how bored you get.
I don't know. I thought you made like very interesting points.
It was quick. It was quick. I will give them that. That is the one positive. It was quick.
Right. Okay.
He is just on another plane of boring right now. That's why I think they, it's like, God, just cycle some people in and out. Like, like I think it's been great that they haven't had Becky Lynch on TV in a few weeks. She's returning next week, but it's kind of good to like kind of take a break from Becky and then like have her come back. I think it's time for a break from Seth after Money in the Bank. Shane Thorne and Brendan Vink versus Ricochet and Cedric Alexander. This is a match that could only happen during a pandemic because there's no earthly reason why Shane Thorne and Brendan Vink should be on the main roster right now. Like I can accept Austin Theory from NXT, who just a couple, half a year ago was main eventing Evolve shows because Austin Theory is, I do believe him to be legitimately talented and he has something. Is it great for him to be on the main roster trying to figure it out? Probably not, but
during this time,
he's doing an admirable job
at this time, and especially during this time, it's a fine opportunity.
It's a great opportunity, and he's also filling a void from people that can't be there. Mm-hmm. And he's a solid hand,
and he can't do that much damage. To be honest with you,
he's not going to hurt himself because he has talent and he kind of gets it, and he's really young to be to be getting it, but he does get it.
Mm-hmm.
these two, Shane Thorne, especially Brendan Vink, they do absolutely nothing for me. They didn't look that great, in this. Shane Thorne has the edge on Brendan Vink, at least. Shane Thorne had done a little television with NXT in the past. But Brendan Vink, he talks about, I'm the 6'5" guy. It's like he doesn't look very toned. He doesn't look very intimidating. And other than his size, there's really nothing interesting about him at all. And he just doesn't feel like a complete product. And it really kind of shows in the ring. It just doesn't feel complete. And they're just throwing him out there. It's like, you have better guys than this. You do. Even guys that weren't being utilized on NXT. There are better options than Brendan Vink. That being said, good God, can it get any worse for Ricochet? I mean, Cedric Alexander was dead as a doornail anyway. But Ricochet, a couple months ago was going for the WWE title. Why not me? Why not me?
That's my phrase every week.
That's your phrase every week. Why not me? Why not?
Why not me?
I get it. He has a job, and I'm sure there's gonna be somebody bitching in the chat room like, he's this and that. But
who?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm kidding. I don't think anybody in the chat room is gonna say that. To be honest,
I'll fight them. Because everyone knows how I feel about Richard or Shay.
No one's gonna argue with it, but it's just like, good Lord, like it just goes to show you, it doesn't matter how many great moves you do. If you have no character, you're not going to go very far in this at all. I agree. I What is Ricochet's character? Like, what is he?
Why
do?
not me?
He's. They tried to get him over with that superhero shtick, and they just fucking put him in
Lawler,
they put him into a hole.
I remember even Lawler's like, is he really think he's a superhero?
Yeah, right.
If the commentators,
he's delusional.
Right. If the commentators are like, getting like that, and even like not Lawler, but I think even the face, I don't know who was doing it, but I think even the faces were kind of like, oh, he's a superhero.
Yeah.
That's weird.
It's cringy.
And then when Charlie Caruso is telling you that you have no chance, then that's bad. Because Charlie Caruso's usually... It's Charlie Caruso.
Yeah. and the thing that sucks about this is like MVP was backing Shane Thorne and Brendan Vink, I guess, just to give them a little credibility. I really thought that it like Ricochet and Cedric Alexander are such a nothing tag team. I was like, well, obviously this is like a setup for MVP to just, trick, fool everybody and actually say that he had joined up with Ricochet and Cedric Alexander is going to take them to the mountaintop and have them just like run over Shane Thorne and Brendan Vink. Instead, like MVP didn't even come out with Vink and Thorne. Are you all right? No, I felt the screen there.
No, sorry, I had a pain.
No, and it, like nothing happened to it. Nothing came of the MVP thing. It's just like, oh yeah, cool, you guys won, nice. It's like, what a missed opportunity to at least try to add a little dimension to these guys. Like normally, like if you can't figure out how to get somebody over, you just kind of turn them heel and see what happens. I would do a heel turn with Cedric Alexander and Ricochet. I would, and have them scale back doing the high flying moves and just have them kind of like, do some cool tag team moves just to beat the crap out of people. With MVP, like have MVP start up a stable. I've been waiting for that. And the stable I was thinking of for MVP was not Brendan fucking Vink and Shane Thorne.
I would go two ways with Ricochet
Brendan
or Cedric
Vink.
Alexander.
That's the best name they could come up with.
I have two. I feel like there should be two options with them. Like you said, either turn them heel or have them be as cheesy can be. Because even now, with what they're doing is not working. But if he came out there and was like, hi, kids, like, whatever, and was all bubbly and animated and everything else, and it's like, okay.
You mean like Apollo Crews?
No, not like Apollo Crews, because Apollo Crews isn't a high flyer like that, He
kind of is.
Not really. Not to the extent of Ricochet.
No.
And Cedric Alexander. But, at least it's something. Like, at least it's a character of something. Like this goofball who's like, hey, kids, like, look at what I can do. You know what I mean? But there's, like, literally no personality coming out of either one of those two.
No.
So, it like, their talent almost becomes mute at this point. Because it's like, if you have nothing else to show for and to back it up, it's like, why even bother?
I know.
Why are you risking these high moves every week for what?
I know.
For what? You don't have a character.
I remember when Ricochet debuted last year, and they had him do his match. I forget who it was against, but obviously he won. And then they had him cut a promo after the match.
That was.
I want to go back and look at my recap because I know I put in there like cutting promos is probably not this guy's forte, and I think they should just let him tell his story in the ring and kind of develop a character from that.
Like I said, even if
he does his in-ring stuff, but there's no character development.
Even if he was like a complete cheese ball, it's better than doing what he's doing now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just it did nothing for me, and I think we put more thought and time into it than I think WWE did.
Richard O'Shea.
This match was really good, but kind of screwed up. The Street Profits versus the Viking Raiders. Last week they said on the show that they're giving the Viking Raiders a tag team title match. So I went into this thinking, because it's just like, like there was nothing explicitly said on their social media where it was like, oh, it's not a tag team match. I went into this thinking like, oh my God, they just switched tag team titles tonight. The Viking Raiders just beat the Street Profits, but no, it just turned out to be a non-title match. They do not do a good job sometimes of communicating things. And the screwed up thing is that last week was taped the same day as the show that was taped tonight.
Yeah.
You can't even get your story straight.
Yeah, no, I've noticed that in the past couple of years too, where I've watched certain, I'm like, I thought this was a title match. Or remember even when like you be recapping and you're like, did they say it was a title match? Like I thought they did, but then now they're saying it's not. Like, and it was always very confusing. Yeah, I agree with that. It could be very misleading, which isn't always good.
No, because it just kind of like erodes like trust with your viewership.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's gonna be somebody who's
like that professionalism.
No,
yeah,
nobody cares. People do.
Some people do at least.
Like if I tune into a show and they're like, it's one thing to say like, okay, well it's a cliffhanger, but it's like, not in this case. It's just false advertising. Anyway, this was a great match. I really enjoyed the Street Profits versus the Viking Raiders. In fact, this was probably my favorite thing on the show tonight. Went through a commercial break. It was all action, barely any rest holds. They just went at it. It was so much fun. I really like when the Viking Raiders are allowed to do the things that they can instead of like doing these like squash matches. Like you kind of forget that like they're a great tag team.
Yes, they are.
They're insanely athletic. Like Eric is super athletic. Like when he hit, I forget who. I think it was Montez Ford. He just crushed him with like some kind of running dropkick or running double knees and just sent him just flying into the corner like that Finn Balor woo dropkick that he does in the corner. And Ivar doing the cartwheels and the handspring back elbow and the seated senton and like these guys are crazy athletic. It's so much fun to watch. And again like it's different than what you're seeing. Like you don't need to put them in the fucking Viking horns and shit like that. You can just have them go out there and crush people. You don't need to be like beat us over the head with, oh yes, they're Viking heritage, so they're gonna go back 1,000 years and dress like Eric the Red. Nobody gives a shit.
Right.
Just have like people want to see like roughhousers.
Yeah.
And they can and they can cut a promo.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear them growling about, oh, the raid is on, and we're gonna bring back 1,000 years of torture from Thor and Odin on your ass. It's like no one wants to hear that, but like we're gonna go out there and beat the shit out of you guys, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like you could go far with that.
That works. It's funny how completely two different tag teams, but they really meshed very, very well tonight in their matchup. And I think with the Viking Raiders, what I find very interesting about them is actually Billy and I were talking about that like months ago. We wanted to see them evolve into beyond the squash matches. And this is exactly where their niche should be. I'm not saying they should never do like where they just, have a 2-second match where, a nothing tag team and they show like dominance and everything like that. But this is just as important to show that their athleticism in the ring too. And this benefits both tag teams, regardless of who wins. It showcases a very, very unique group of people working together, but a very entertaining match overall.
Yeah, working together and pretty, believably. Because Eric and Ivar are just gigantic guys. So for me to believe that Montez Ford could even take one of them on, is a little far-fetched, but Angelo Dawkins really adds that great little flavor to it. And Dawkins is just, like we talk about Montez Ford a lot. Dawkins can more than hold his own.
I think so. And I do believe, I think sometimes he's, even though they're a tag team and people, there's always in the tag team, you always say to yourself, one's always better than the other. I think they're pretty evenly matched up, though. I do.
Yeah, no, it felt good. I guess they're going to do a tag match on Sunday for the titles. I guess that's where they're heading.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind that, though.
I wouldn't mind seeing it again, but usually when you have a good match on Raw, you get it never really translates
like a
to the pay-per-view.
so-so match, yeah.
But
maybe because it was like,
match.
maybe they filmed it already, so it's like...
You never know. You never know.
Never know.
But yeah, this was a lot of fun. I definitely enjoyed it. Doug's bringing up the Viking karaoke. Yeah, that was dumb. There's no defending that. But yeah, for the most part, when they allow them not when they don't have them doing all this campy shit, and just let them go out there and do their thing, they're pretty good.
Oh yeah,
now, I wish AOP was around so that they could face them. I think that would be a lot of fun.
I definitely agree with Doug that they've had a lot in the past that made them very much like.
Well, there's a lot of things that derailed them,
Yeah.
like calling them the Viking Experience first, and then calling them the Viking Raiders, and then having them dress as Vikings, and then just doing squash matches into oblivion.
Yeah.
Having them win the Raw Tag Team titles, lose them, and then disappear.
There was a lot against them, but they've always had it.
Yeah,
They've always had it, but they've
there's
always
something
been
there.
They've always been subjected to like the stupidity of these,
Right.
dumb character, whatever.
They're at the mercy of the writing crew sometimes, unfortunately for them. Anyway, that was a lot of fun. Charlotte Flair versus Liv Morgan.
Do we have to already talk about it?
What?
Do we have to talk about it?
No,
Because you already talked about it.
I already talked about it. I fell asleep.
Bye.
Charlotte Flair won. There was no question about who was going to win. I don't believe that Liv Morgan looks good coming out of this. She just
Feel badly for the girl.
She just comes out of it. That's all she does. She's just going to come out of the match.
Feel bad for her. Everything's been a botch since she came back. It really has been.
Yeah, her big return has been a botch. I did like that in her promo. She did mention at least that, Charlotte convinced her, that it might be time for a makeover of Liv Morgan. And of course that makeover went absolutely nowhere. But she's like, remember that thing that happened in July? Yeah, I do. Sure.
Nobody else does.
Yeah, because so much changed. So much changed. Quentin Walters writes snore, and yeah, that was legit.
That was legitimately Mike.
Legitimately my recap of that match. Drew McIntyre versus Murphy. I got to tell you, for as much crap as we've given WWE for their inability to build stars, they are doing a very, very good job with Drew McIntyre and building him up as like a superhuman guy.
That's how you know that he really is very, very good, is that during this time he is still very much relevant, very much interesting, and if you are staying in and you are tuning in, you're invested into Drew McIntyre.
Yeah. I actually think almost like, they put him on so late that it's like, okay, well, whenever you go and look at the rating, not that a lot of people do. I'm not going to say that like the ratings are the biggest, most viewed feature of the website every week, but those that look, you see around the forums and stuff like that, people say like, oh yeah, well, look at Drew McIntyre in death segment again, lowest rated segment of the show. I would put Drew McIntyre on earlier and just put all the rest of the crap, after that. Let people, when in the first hour, when the most people are statistically watching, put Drew McIntyre there. I think it's more important to showcase Drew McIntyre to as many people as you can than to save him for the third hour to just hope to keep people watching. And it's not enough. But I think
it's backfiring a little bit.
It's backfiring. I think you put him on, have him do his match, have him finish everything up by 9 or 9:30. Have him kick off the show with a promo if we have to continue doing these goddamn promos to start the show. Have the WWE champion go out there and do it, and then have him have his match at 9 o'clock or 9:30 or whatever, and be done with it. Let people get the Drew McIntyre experience, and then it's like if they want to keep tuning in, they're gonna tune in no matter what. But at least like the people that watch, collectively, in that first hour, will see him.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't agree putting him in the main event.
I do agree with that, and
But they put him over strong, super strong.
This is what I don't mean to like
predict. The only thing that worries me is that they're going to send Brock Lesnar out there and just beat him one day, for no reason.
Yeah, I was going to say something a little bit similar to that. I really genuinely hope that, and again, we really don't know when this will all be over, where there will be normalcy again. I almost think that during this time, though, and until we get to that point where it's just like even like a little bit normal, they should keep Drew McIntyre with the title and just keep building him up. And I know it might be a long time up until then, but don't make any drastic changes during this time.
Yeah.
Just to get viewership. Yeah. I think he deserves to eventually get a live crowd into play and to really have that true championship, because he really has been holding his own. So it really would not be fair to him to not get that opportunity to do what he's doing so well in front of a live crowd.
I agree.
I think that would be a major disservice. Like, he's carrying a lot of the show in the aspect of people are genuinely interested in him. Give him that opportunity later on. And don't have him lose to Brock Lesnar or anything like that random during this time just to get people talking or whatever. Give him his fair opportunity. Let him be this hardcore individual up until the point even when we get some normalcy. Give him his opportunity.
Yeah.
Let him sustain this throughout the duration of all this and then some.
Yeah, I agree. Just keep him looking strong and wait to see like what you have. Like, you really don't know what you have until you get that crowd back and you can hear that reaction. It's unfair to kind of grade him off of like, what rating his segment does.
Exactly.
People are dropping off.
That's what I'm saying. So I find that they should really give, because
it's not his fault.
Not his fault at all. And I think once he's finally in front of that live crowd, people are just going to go nuts,
because they were going nuts for him before, and like when they had him win the Royal Rumble, like they brought him out, they had him go over on Lesnar, hit him with the Claymore kick and all that stuff. He looked like $1 million, and then they kind of scaled back on him. They just put him in like a squash match and just like, okay, that was it, and then he goes away. He wasn't even on TV a couple weeks in a row.
Yeah.
And then they had him come out in Brooklyn and destroy Brock Lesnar with 3 Claymore kicks. It's like they did the right thing. They held back. They didn't shove him down your throat.
No.
So it's not like you can accuse him of getting the Roman Reigns treatment where he's shoved down your throat. Like they played it very safe with him. And I think once you can get people back into an arena, and there's a lot of talk that like, oh yeah, well, there's going to be people in the Performance Center next month and this and that because of the Florida government. Like I'll believe it when I see it.
It's not happening.
I don't believe that that's in the cards for now. We'll see. But I believe when you can actually get an actual crowd full of people safely together, he's going to be a big superstar.
He was the perfect balance between Daniel Bryan, who got over organically,
right,
and Roman Reigns of having the
look,
the look and the authority behind him.
Yeah,
getting that push behind him. The people who are running the company are very interested in him, and the crowd's very interested in him because that happened organically as well.
Right.
They really did a good job of making sure that people stay interested in him, and the crowd very much wants to see him.
Right.
So he deserves that opportunity. Don't do something stupid by Brock Lesnar beat him during this time and just to get a view. Don't do it. Don't do it. Give him that chance.
I agree. I think you're making good points, my dear. All right, well, that concludes our review of Raw. I'm
like out of breath right now.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
I don't know why.
I don't know why. Like, I'm just like sweating talking about
It's not even
Raw.
like that. It's not even that great of a Raw at all. And I'm like...
But let's see what everybody in the chat room thought of Raw. Do you give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down? Daniel Shell's in the chat room tonight. I just noticed his name in there. Yes, Daniel Shell is with us. Daniel, no thumbs in the middle. But what does everybody think? What did everybody think of the show tonight? Let us know. Thumbs up, thumbs down. I am personally going to give the show myself a thumbs down. I thought there was just more it was too boring. At points, I mean, like at one point, I fell asleep in the goddamn show. It was like so.
Yeah, I mean,
so
you can't fall
dull.
asleep during a show and not give it a thumbs down.
I know. It's like if I fall asleep during a show, it's like they held my interest.
What did Vince McMahon think of it?
I don't know. What did he think of it?
I don't know.
Why don't you ask him?
Okay, Vince McMahon, what do you think of the show? I thought it was shit. I mean, good.
Honestly, it's like I'll never forget when they did that Steve Austin podcast interview with Vince McMahon after a Raw, and you could tell that Vince had a long ass day before that podcast, and he sat down and he looked tired. And it was not a good show. I don't remember any specifics about the show, but I remember when I recapped, I was like, this is shit. And Steve Austin goes, you feel good about that show? And he was like, yeah, it was great. It's like, he wanted to say, yeah, it was bad.
It was shit.
Oh my God.
I'm very into this puppet.
I love it. Now,
we apologize for not having Mercy on tonight.
Mercy's in the baby's room. It's like, we don't want
Baby's sleeping.
She's sleeping. She's hair triggers. One thing will just wake her up. All right. So in the chat room, Billy Hefner, Uncle Billy gives it a thumbs down. Nafis Sadat, thumbs down.
Fire.
Scott Point, everybody's fired. Scotty Poindexter, thumbs down. Daniel Shell, thumbs didn't watch. Andrew, thumbs way down. Post Raw, thumbs up from Corey Howell. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Oh, we didn't say hi to Corey yet. Hi, Corey.
Hi, Corey.
I like this. Quentin Walters. New T-shirt. Arrive, recap, leave. We could make that happen. We could definitely make that happen. Nafis Sadat did not watch, to be honest with you. Yes, that's made the right choice. I give it the grade of ultimate deletion from Mr. V. Mashun gives it a slight thumbs down. Okay. Scott Poindexter, it's such bad shit.
You're all
Quentin,
fired, and the show is canceled.
Danielle wants to know if Lily's scared of Vince. She has not met Vince yet. Vince literally just came in like the other day. We haven't introduced her, but it's so weird. I was reading Lily on a storybook the other day, and she has like this whole like toy chest of just stuff. And all of a sudden, I'm like, what the hell is that? It was Mercy's beak peeking out of her toy thing. It's like, why is this thing in our daughter's room? Like, yeah, it's like, it's funny, but like, my God, she actually likes the damn thing. It's so weird.
I think because she was introduced to it early on that she's not scared of it. Like,
I guess so. Vince isn't in screen. There he is.
You're all fired.
You actually do a pretty good Vince impression, I have to say. Yeah, I'm a thumbs down on this. And it seems like that's the general opinion here. I do like that Arrive, recap, leave shirt. That's a really good one. Okay. Well, on that note, as a reminder, I will be co-hosting Wrestleview Live this Sunday with our dear friend Mr. Doug Lackey right here on the Wrestleview on the Wrestleview YouTube channel.
Not if I have anything to say about it.
What are you going to say about it? What the hell are you going to do about it?
I'm going to cancel your show.
Good. I hope you cancel that 3rd hour Raw before you cancel our show, to be honest with you.
Bye, Boss McMahon.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're out.
Thank you, Boss McMahon. Yes, we will be back for Wrestleview Live to recap Money in the Bank. We'll be back on Monday with Post Raw. Doug will obviously be back with Wrestleview Weekly before Wrestleview Live, so he's got that going on too. I have to think of a really nice adjective for Doug. He always calls me the effervescent Mike Tedesco. I need to think of something for loquacious. The loquacious Doug Lackey.
He's dazzling.
Dazzling Doug. Dazzling Doug. I like that one a lot better. That's pretty good. Yes.
As long as Doug likes it.
I don't know. Nicknames aren't designed for, for total consent.
True.
Yeah. Anyway, so we got a lot of content coming up. I'm gonna try to get back in the saddle with Jerome this weekend for Wrestleview news as well. Even though news is drying up, we are finally at that moment that we all thought was gonna happen. It is drying up. I am going to have the WrestleMania 14 retro recap. I finally got back in the saddle doing the retro recaps again. I slowed down with at during WrestleMania season, and there's just been so much going on that it was like almost impossible to like sit down and just
there was so much news that it was just hard to keep up with.
Yes. It was a crazy month of April, but it finally seems like we're finally at that moment where we knew it was coming. It sort of slowed down, so we'll see. But Wrestleview News will be back this weekend. We will get there. In the meantime, Doug has his predictions up for Money in the Bank, so make sure you check those out. It's a great show, and Doug actually put a lot of time and money into his show, and I gotta tell you, I love the graphics. I thought it looked great. Oh, here we go. And Doug even just said, need to have Victoria on weekly to make picks next go around. Yes, absolutely. I know Victoria is more than up to that.
I'm so excited.
So we're looking forward to that. And it's Mother's Day, so you never know. Victoria might just pop on a WrestleView Live as well. You never know. So you'll be seeing her.
Everything happens around my birthday and Mother's Day.
I know. It's like, yeah, WrestleMania was on Victoria's birthday. Right?
Not this year.
Not this year? Oh no, but it was around your birthday.
It was around my birthday.
And Mother's Day, of course, being dominated by Money in the Bank, because that's what every mother wants, is to have their husband and children watching wrestling on their big day. Anyway, I'm Mike Tedesco, the editor-in-chief of Wrestleview.com.
And I'm Victoria Tedesco.
Have a great week. We have a ton of stuff coming up for you. We hope you catch it all, and we'll see you down the road.
Bye.
Bye.